For decades, fans of The Doors have argued, speculated, and theorized about what really tore the band apart. Was it fame? Drugs? Or the death of their frontman, Jim Morrison? But now, at 78 years old, guitarist Robby Krieger has finally broken his silence, revealing the heartbreaking truth behind how one of the greatest rock bands in history truly fell apart. And it's not the story you think it is. When The Doors burst onto the scene in the late 1960s, they weren't just another rock band. They were a revolution. With Jim Morrison's hypnotic voice, Ray Manzarek's haunting keyboards, John Densmore's jazz-driven drums, and Robby Krieger's fiery guitar, they created a sound that defined a generation. Songs like Light My Fire, Riders on the Storm, For People Are Strange became the anthems of rebellion, mystery, and poetic chaos. The band's energy was raw, dangerous, and magnetic. But behind that brilliance, there was a storm brewing that would eventually tear them apart from the inside. In his later interviews and memoirs, Robby Krieger finally opened up about what really went wrong. According to him, The Doors' breakup wasn't just about Jim Morrison's self-destruction. It was about the weight of fame, creative tension, and the painful realization that their magic depended on something they couldn't control. "We were four guys who made something bigger than ourselves," Robby admitted. "But the bigger it got, the less we could hold it together." At first, everything was electric. In the mid-60s, The Doors were unstoppable, performing at packed clubs on the Sunset Strip, breaking records and shocking audiences with Morrison's unpredictable performances. But success came at a cost. The fame that once fueled them started to suffocate them. Jim, already haunted by his demons, began spiraling deeper into alcoholism and rebellion. While Robby, Ray, and John wanted to focus on the music, Jim was losing himself in chaos, often showing up late or not at all to recording sessions and concerts. Robby has since revealed how heartbreaking it was to watch their friend fall apart. "We loved Jim," he said, "but it became impossible to reach him. He was slipping away and the band was slipping with him." As tensions rose, creative disagreements exploded. Morrison wanted to push boundaries with poetry and art. The others wanted to keep the music alive. Every new song felt like a battle, not between bandmates, but between vision and survival. By 1971, it was clear the dream was dying. When Jim Morrison moved to Paris, the rest of the band hoped he'd find peace, maybe even inspiration. But deep down, they feared the truth. A few months later, that fear became reality when Jim was found dead in his bathtub at just 27 years old. For Robby, that moment shattered everything. "We thought maybe we could go on," he said. But The Doors weren't just a band. They were a spirit, and that spirit left with Jim. After Dee's death, Robby, Ray, and John tried to keep The Doors alive. They recorded 2 more albums without Morrison, but something essential was missing. "We could play the notes," Robby confessed, "but the soul was gone." Jim was the voice, the madness, the poetry. He was the chaos that made it real. The band eventually disbanded quietly, each member going their separate way. Now, decades later, Robby Krieger finally admits the truth fans have long suspected. The Doors didn't break up because of fame or fights. They ended because they were too honest, too raw, too human, to fake what they'd lost. "You can replace a guitarist, a drummer, even a keyboard player," Robby said softly, "but you can't replace a soul." Jim was our soul. At 78, Robby's words aren't bitter. They're filled with acceptance. The Doors burned bright, changed music forever, and then faded. Just like their name suggests, like walking through a doorway from one world to another. They didn't just break up. They became legend, and now, finally, we know why.